Let's talk about family language strategies. The family is the social unit that has its norms for speaking, viewing, acting, etc. And to quote Xiaolong Kurt Christensen, family provides a cornerstone for language socialization and language development. Now, for multilingual families, agreeing on family language strategies means to agree on who speaks what language, to whom, and when. You can find many books, articles, blog posts, and research about this topic. I wrote about it myself on my website. But most of the time, solutions seem logical and easy. But situations change. What we thought was possible at the beginning, before having children or when the children are quite young, babies or toddlers, might not be the case when they grow up. We change, our preferences for languages change, our fluency in languages change, for us parents, but also for our children. The main problem for multilingual families is not to find a strategy. It's about maintaining a strategy or combining possible strategies in a way to meet the needs of everyone in the family and to attain the language goal or language goals that are within realistic reach. So please don't expect me to present you the solution for your family. This is what you have to find out by yourself. What I can do here is to explain how the strategies can work for family settings where more than two languages are spoken on a regular basis. I would say opt for the one that is the most realistic and feasible within a shorter and a longer time frame. Of course, we usually focus on the family as a social unit, a micro-society. But we should always also consider the macro society that includes our extended family, the friends, the extended community where we live in, our colleagues, our neighbors, because we need a multilingual village to raise a multilingual child. So do you know who is part of your multilingual village? It's you, your partner, some friends, extended family. Who among the people that you know at the moment can be part of your multilingual village? So let's talk about the 4 major family language strategies. The first one is the OPOL, the one person, one language strategy. Each person speaks another language with the child. Starting from the core family, these are the parents or the caregivers, then maybe also the grandparents, babysitters, nannies, etc. Think about who provides a regular linguistic input for the child and engages in conversations. What language is each person speaking with the child that the child is also expected to respond in at some point? There are 2 main scenarios for OPOL. The first one is where parents speak different minority languages with the child. And the second one is where one parent speaks a minority language and the other parent speaks the majority language with the child. Notice that in both, there is one parent who provides the input in a minority language. To parents who opt for this strategy, I usually ask 2 questions. The first one is, what language do you speak to each other? And the second one is, do you and your partner speak each other's language? The reason for this is that after the first months where each parent speaks another language with the child, the situations when all are together can become a little bit more difficult when a parent does not understand what the partner is saying to the child. If you don't speak your partner's language, will you and your partner be okay not to understand each other when speaking with the child? Or better, can you jump on the wagon and learn your partner's language alongside your child? At least the basics to start with. This is especially important for scenario 2 that I just mentioned, where one parent speaks the majority language and the other parent speaks the minority language. Many parents are not aware that the minority language will most likely suffer once the children attend daycare or school in the majority language, because they will have more exposure in that language, especially if also one of the parents speaks the majority language at home. If your goal is that all the family languages should be somehow balanced, it would be very helpful, I'd say even necessary, if the parent who speaks the majority language could also help with the minority language. It's not necessary to do this every day, but with a certain regularity. We'll talk about this later. When the person responsible for the majority language embraces also the minority language, it not only helps to foster the children's language skills, but also their sense of belonging to both cultures. And it shows the child that both languages are valuable and important enough to at least be spoken. And not only the language, but also the culture and everything that comes with it. The school language is the language where a child will learn how to read, how to write, how to do maths, and how to talk about a broad range of topics. The next strategy is called minority language at home. It is a quite successful strategy following the research of Annick de Houwer on this matter, especially when both parents speak the same minority language. The strategy is very straightforward and easy for children to understand. At home we speak Polish, and outside home we speak, for example, French. If, like in scenario 1 that I mentioned before, each parent speaks another minority language, it is important to support both languages. Again, it would be great if both parents speak each other's languages. If not, they most probably speak a third language as family language. My question then is always, is this third language another minority language where you live at the moment, or is it the majority language or the community language? Deciding what language to speak in the family and to what extent is something multilingual families do, preferably from the beginning. And if not, they all will experience a moment where they have to take this decision. When more than 2 languages are spoken in the family, determining when we speak what language becomes crucial in settings where we are all together. So parents have to decide, what is our family language, and do we have one family language or 2 or maybe more? Adopting the time and place strategy, we make it clear that in specific situations and settings, we speak an additional language with our children and family. For parents who each speak different languages, they can opt for speaking an additional language in family settings when they are not one-on-one with the child. So this strategy also allows single parents to raise a child with more than one language. In fact, they would speak one language, for example, in the morning and the other language in the evening, or one during 1 week and the other one the next week, or one during the week and the other one during the weekend. As I said, it's up to every single family to find out and decide what works best. If you adopt this strategy with very young children, let's say preschool children, the switch to the other language should be clearly introduced and make sense for the child. Keep in mind that young children don't have a concept of time yet, and saying we're going to speak Korean for the next hour is difficult to understand. Whereas introducing, for example, Korean as a language we speak on a Saturday, because that is when we Skype with grandma, who will also talk Korean with us and tell us a story in Korean, it's much easier to understand. We determine a very clear context, a recurring situation, and a time for it. We can also introduce the switch between the languages by using clear signs, like wearing a scarf or a hat. I mentioned this in other video. We can also switch to another language by choosing a specific place to do so. It is like speaking French at home and Polish in the community. We would, for example, speak French in the living room and Polish in the dining room, or vice versa. Find out what works best for you, your partner, and your child. Last but not least, the 2 persons, 2 language strategies can be adopted by parents who speak each other's languages. It's an extension, if you would like, from OPOL, but each parent speaks the partner's language. In fact, many parents start with OPOL and introduce the other language later, for example, when being together as a family. Opting for the minority language would be here the best advice, or alternating between minority languages if there are two, if you wish that your child becomes as fluent as possible in the minority language or languages too. In multilingual families like mine, we speak different languages. I speak German and Italian, occasionally also Swiss German, and in certain situations English and Dutch with my children and husband. My husband does the same, and we decided that he would be responsible for the Swiss German input and I am responsible for the Italian input. Our 3 children are multilingual. They are all teenagers now and speak, read and write in English, Dutch and German, and a little bit in French and Spanish, and they speak Italian and Swiss German to a certain level of fluency. During the past 18 years, we have combined all the strategies to a certain extent, making sure to consider the needs and skills of our children and us parents as well. What works for us mustn't work for others. My 3 children are very different with regards to the way they acquired and learned their languages. They have different language preferences, and so do I and my husband. Let me just ask you 3 final questions. What languages does your child need to be able to speak, read, and write? Who is providing the necessary input on a regular basis? Who can commit to helping them achieve the short and long-term language goals? And this is not a question, but rather a request. Please set realistic goals. Raising children with multiple languages is a long and not straightforward journey, especially when more languages are involved and the goals are not only to speak, but also to read and write in the languages or some of them that our children needs to know. So try to answer these questions. And if you need to help with finding the answers, I'm happy to help. I regularly hold workshops and trainings on these topics, and you can find more information about this on my website. Please leave your comment or question here below, and click subscribe and click the bell if you would like to be notified when I publish my next video.